morning, everybody. It is very early in the morning. I was up since 5:30. I'm going into work at 7 for an overtime shift. I've been working a lot to try to save up money for the homestead, for all of our big purchases. So I've been wanting to make a video, this video. It's been on my heart all week. I've been thinking about it. So here's the scoop. Right now, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the news. There's three things I've been thinking about that I believe everyone in America can agree on. Number one, this inflation sucks. It is hurting our wallets. It's hurting our bank account. No matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, no matter if you're a Christian or an atheist, we all have to pay the same money for food, and it's costing more and more and more. The other thing I think we can agree on, we're not doing a very good job taking care of our world. Some of us better than others, but we only have one world, and we have to do a better job of taking care of it for future generations. And the last thing I think we can agree on is that the way that we are producing food stinks. There is no reason we should ever be shipping a salad across the country and putting it in a store and buying it when everyone can grow lettuce anywhere. So I want us to think about these things. I want us to come from a common ground. Anyone who watches this video can say, yes, okay. All right, Katie, well, what are we going to do about it? Well, okay, we can either deal with it, buck up, and keep paying more for our produce, more for the food we eat, or we can do something about it. And that's something that we can do is, first of all, support. If you can't grow your own food, support local farmers. Get your food from right down the street. I mean, not everyone can grow bananas and avocados, but your tomatoes, your lettuce, especially in the summertime, you should be buying all that from local farmers, because the gas to ship that across country from other countries is astronomical. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for business. It's bad for everybody. Okay, so the best thing you can do, though, is grow your own food. Just give it a try. This is the year. I mean, I've been saving money growing our family's own food for almost a decade now. I can tell you it's amazing. There are some ways better than others to save more money, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. But if you've never done it before, this is the year. If you've started gardening in the past, and this is the year to scale it up. I mean, I guarantee you can grow the food that you're buying at the grocery store for pennies on the dollar compared to what you're spending there. So why not? Some things you can't help. The electric bill is going up. The gas bill is going up. Unless you start to produce your own gas, there's ways to do that. But the easiest thing to do is to grow your own food. Then it's not hurting your pocket so much when everything else is on the rise. So I have 4 tips to help you grow as much of your own food as possible. And I'll start that right now because I don't have much time before work. So tip number 1, why mow where you can grow? And I've been doing this for years at our old house. Because we had a septic system in the backyard, I didn't want to have our garden back there because of the leach lines. So I put a giant garden, the whole side yard and in the front yard. Some of the neighbors and people that drove by probably thought it was weird. I'm not going to lie. Luckily, we didn't have a homeowners association saying you can't do that. It's a country. It was in the country. It's not typical. But these aren't typical times. I mean, in other countries, they do this stuff all the time. They grow their food in their yard, front, back, side, doesn't matter, because they're growing food to survive. I thought it was beautiful, and a handful of people would always stop by every summer saying this is what everyone should be doing. We had in our front yard a beautiful back to Eden garden, and we grew a lot of food on it. I would say it was about 50 by 40 feet on one side, and the other side was about 30 feet by 100 feet long down the whole side yard. We were growing enough food for us and selling at market as well, until we got too big and had to get a plot down the road. But guys, why mow where you can grow? Why, I mean, I love mowing the lawn actually, but if you don't like mowing the lawn, it's a great idea. Look up Back to Eden gardening, lasagna gardening, throw down some cardboard, throw down some compost under that, then cardboard, then wood chips. You can plant right in it the first year. There's lots of other things we can do to actually save the most money, and we'll get into that next. But you have to use your space wisely if you're going to do this, especially if you live in the city. And you can do it vertically. Growing vertically is your best friend if you don't have a lot of space. Grow up. Any way you can to maximize the space that you have, I'm telling you can grow your own food anywhere you are. If you get a little bit of sun, you can grow. If you live in the city and don't have a backyard, you can grow in your window. Microgreens, anything. It's just start somewhere. Start somewhere. You can grow mushrooms. You can grow a bunch of stuff. Not as much as if you have a yard, but you can start somewhere and you can save money. Okay, tip number 2 is grow to save the most dough. In other words, you can pick and choose what you're growing in order to save the most on your grocery bill. So what am I talking about? Okay. First of all, things that cost the most are what you're going to be focusing on, especially if you don't have a lot of space. You're not going to grow carrots because you can get bags of organic carrots super cheap at the market. I mean, if you have unlimited space, yes, grow carrots. But the things I would grow if I was just starting out or didn't have a lot of room, tomatoes, cucumbers, fruits like melons. If you eat a lot of salads, salad greens. That's another thing. It's things that you're already spending your money on. If you're a big salad eater, grow those greens. You know how much money you're going to save if you don't buy those fancy boxes of greens every week? Look at the prices in the supermarket and think, can I grow this in my area? Another big part of this is growing things that aren't just your typical vegetables. So my big 2 here are corn and potatoes. Corn and potatoes as starches can replace wheat or rice that you are putting in a lot of your dinners. So anything that you normally eat French fries or fried potatoes or tater tots or hash browns with, grow potatoes. Because not only is that the easiest thing to grow, I mean, fields of wheat are very difficult to harvest, and you don't get a lot for each square foot. And it's cheap at the supermarket, relatively. You can get a thing of flour for way less than the time investment it's going to cost you to grow that pound of flour. Cut it, thresh it, grind it up. That's going to take a lot of time. So potatoes and corn, you can grind the corn up. If you get the right variety, you can dry it, you can grind it into flour. These are major things, especially if you're getting into the more intensive trying to grow as much food as possible, which is what we're going to be doing. Potatoes and corn are my big 2. We're going to experiment with other things like oats, especially to feed our animals, but oats, barley, quinoa, amaranth. But potatoes, huge. Corn, huge. Cornerstones of your diet. Because, to be honest, vegetables and fruits don't make up more than maybe, let's say, 25 Depends on if you're a vegetarian, but for most Americans, they're not making up more than a third of your diet. There's a lot of carbs and a lot of protein that you also need to purchase as part of that grocery bill. So those are important, hugely important as far as actually saving money. So look into corn, look into potatoes. Okay, and now we have tip number 3, which is grow through the snow. So technically, this can also be called make sure you grow to get you through the snow. Because, of course, if we can, we're going to be growing during the winter. Microgreens, if you have access to a greenhouse, cold frame, any way to help you grow inside, first of all, that's going to help you extend the season to get your stuff planted earlier so that you can have tomatoes in June as opposed to August. If you get your starts earlier. But growing through the snow, man, if you can do that, that's where you're going to save money. This means growing in the winter. If you don't have snow, obviously everyone has a colder season, and the point is not just to be able to grow through the summer and have all that fresh produce. That's going to save you a lot of money then, but what about the rest of the year? Okay, so we're also going to be planning and trying to grow as much stuff to last us throughout the entire year as we can, which includes some skills. Okay, we're talking canning, we're talking dehydration. The first thing you can do if you're new to all this and you're overwhelmed, if you have a freezer, freeze it. That's what I did. Chop up those carrots, chop up the peppers, shred the zucchini, keep it in the freezer so you can make zucchini bread anytime. If you have a lot of freezer space, do that. Dehydrators are super cheap, then it won't take up room in your freezer. Canning, oh my gosh, I can't say enough about canning. If you don't know how, this is the year to learn. These techniques, I hate to say it, but if things keep going bad in the economy, these are the things that are going to get you through. This is what our great-grandparents did, grandparents did. They put up enough food, they grew enough food in the summer to get them through the winter season. Canned beans, canned tomatoes, everything. I mean, I cannot say enough how important this is. And then my personal favorite is to grow things that you don't even need to do anything special to store them. Winter squash, pumpkins that we're going to eat, potatoes, apples, pears. You look for the varieties that will last for months and months into the winter. So grow enough to last you through the snow. My 4th tip is grow what you know. Now this is twofold. You're going to grow what you already have grown in the past, things that you're comfortable with. It's always good to experiment with new things, but if you're trying to save the most money, grow the things that you already know how to grow. We're not trying to go out of our league here. We're trying to grow stuff that our family's going to eat, and that's the other part of it. Grow what you know they will eat. Grow what you put on their plate and they will actually consume. So if your family doesn't like beets and kale, there's no point to grow 30 kale plants and 500 beets. They're beautiful. Some people like them, but if your family doesn't, then you're wasting your time and energy, which we can't do. Grow the things you know that your family loves. What if your daughter, your son, or kids like beans, which mine does, grow a lot of beans. Peas. My daughter will constantly eat those snap peas out of the garden. If I don't, she'll eat them all. And man, they're like candy. And you will be amazed at how much your children will be drawn to certain vegetables. You won't even believe it. So I just can't say enough. Grow things, grow what you know. Grow what you know they'll eat. Grow what you know will grow in your environment. This is the time to actually be producing, to actually be helping yourself get by. Helping yourself save real money, real dollars, real cents. Okay. And I think there's a bonus tip here I want to say. After you have done this a year or two, grow like a pro. That's when you're going to start growing like a pro. And if you really get into this and you like it, you could read books on articles on this stuff for days and days. And I learn new stuff every single day. You never stop learning. So tips for growing like a pro, perennial stuff is going to be your best friend. If you have a little extra money, if you start to save money, if you are living in a permanent location like at a house, I might not do this at an apartment, but if you're at your spot that you're going to be for a while, why not start to plant some perennials? Asparagus, berry plants, strawberries grow like mad, and they start the first year, even raspberries. There's a way to do this cheap too. You can grow some of this stuff from seed. As far as asparagus, I'm growing from seed this year. That's right behind me. All these little baby asparaguses. It's a lot cheaper than buying the crowns. Alpine strawberries I'm trying from seed. Blueberries. That stuff's going to take longer too. If you start to grow it from seed, it might take 3 or 4 years. But down the road, this is the stuff that is going to come back year after year without you putting in tons of effort. Throw a little compost on it and let it do its work. That's growing like a pro. Fruit trees, apple trees, peach trees, cherry trees, nut trees. Another pro tip is compost. So this is going to save you tons of money. We're not going to save money if we're going out and buying $20, but tons of $20 bags of compost and dirt. Okay? If you have to do that to start out, that's fine. But vermicomposting is great with worms. Look it up. It's fun, and they do a great job. Better than that, chickens. They're going to give you eggs, which is amazing. If you can get chickens, it's a little investment up front, but those eggs are costing more and more at the store. You get yourself a couple chickens, you're getting eggs. I'm in it for their manure because that is free, beautiful compost. It's the best thing on earth. Rabbits too. Rabbit manure is actually literally the best manure because it's ready to go immediately, and it's got almost the perfect combination of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, and tons of micronutrients. It's amazing. So yeah, the animals are awesome for manure. When you really get into a high level of self-sufficiency, you're growing your animals for food and for eggs. You're growing your vegetables. You're growing your fruits, your perennial stuff. You're growing your potatoes and corn because that's taking the place of the starch. Buy your flour if you need to because it's cheap. Be smart about it, guys. Look at your grocery bill. Start thinking, how can I save money? Can I grow some of this stuff? Can I produce it myself? And that's the message that I have for you guys today. If you need any help, I will help you. I've helped a bunch of people set up gardens. My husband and I have both. We love Back to Eden. It's super easy. Back to Eden gardening. Google the Back to Eden documentary. Look it up. It's inspiring. It is easy. If you mess it up, start it over the next year. No harm done, but it's really hard to mess up. Very few weeds. If you don't like gardening because of the weeds, Back to Eden is for you. If you don't like having to water it every day and go out there, Back to Eden is for you. I've watered a couple of different summers. I only watered 2 or 3 times the entire summer with Back to Eden because the heavy mulch just keeps that moisture in for when the roots need it. And watch the documentary. It'll explain everything. But those are the tips. I hope this helped. I hope it inspired you guys. If you're not growing, start this year. If you're already growing, scale it up. Save the money. Grow your own stuff. Save the world at the same time. That's all. Have a great day, guys.
like, subscribe, give us a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Bye. This is me. Just so funny.